Hey guys, so welcome. Today I thought we'd do a little bit of pranayama, a little bit of yogic breathing. So again, as usual, at the beginning of these videos, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes at least so that people have time to join in. Welcome, Carol Sue. It's good to see you. I'm going to also invite some people to join us. Let's see here. For some reason, the number of people I can invite, the people it shows me, is very, very limited. I have no idea why that is. That's just what shows up here, a very limited number of people. I'm not sure how it picks who to show me and why, but it's just sort of the way that it goes. All right, welcome Sherry, Rachel, Deborah, good to see you. Again, we'll get started here in just a moment. I want to give people a little bit of time to, if they were planning on coming. I did announce this on the Patreon page. While we're waiting, I will mention that you can go to the Patreon page, and I'm trying to update that on a regular basis with my schedule. Hi, Deborah. So if you'd like to connect with me live or otherwise, I'm putting the classes up after I finish teaching them. Welcome, Sibley. So it's a great way to, if you enjoy my teaching, to take part in that, because I'll be posting regularly during this whole pandemic things. Hey, Sibley, it's good to see you. Give you a thumbs up there. All right, so we'll give just another minute or two, give people just a few more minutes before we get started. Today we're going to take a look at alternate nostril breathing. And if you've done some retreats, workshops with me, you may have learned this before, but we'll learn it. We'll learn some other things about it than you might have learned in those settings, because online it's better for some things. Video or text is just better for certain types of information. So in a perfect world, we would meet in person and work some, but I also think actually we would work some via online with text, where you're reading stuff, and then also with like video like this. I think we can pick up different things, especially when we can re-watch a video like this. Hey, Jenny. All right, so we've got, looks like about 6 folks on board. I'm not going to wait much longer because I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So let's begin. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. We won't start with the breathing technique right away. I do want to go over a few of the details, but it's never too early to find a nice comfortable seat to sit tall with your spine erect. If you have a meditation posture that you like, that's perfect for doing pranayams in. Okay, so you might come into a meditation seat, get comfortable, and then we'll just go over a few of the details. So when it comes to yoga techniques, I like to always review why might we want to use this technique, or what is it useful for. You know, it's great to go to a class and have a teacher tell you, do this, do that, do the other thing, breathe like this, stretch like that, but we might ask, well, why should I? And I think that's an important question. I don't think that's being belligerent. I think it's a relevant question. We've got limited time. Why should I spend my time doing this? Why would I want to do this? Okay. So according to the yoga tradition, this particular technique helps to balance both hemispheres of the brain. So our body is basically split in half. The right side of the brain is going to affect the left hemisphere, and the left side the right hemisphere. Okay, so we have this weird crisscross thing going on with our brain. So the eyes, the nostrils, everything is sort of feeding crosswise to the other part of the brain. Our right hemisphere, which controls the left hand, I think this image is reversed for some reason. I don't know why that is. Anyway, the right hemisphere, which controls the left hand, is our artistic, holistic side. You could say it's sort of the heart of our brain. It can see wholeness. It can see abstraction. Well, really, wholeness is really the best word for it. And then the left hemisphere, which controls the right hand, so sort of language, logic, mathematics, all of that kind of stuff. And when we're healthy, the two hemispheres communicate with one another. What yoga teaches is that usually one hemisphere is going to dominate. And so this breathing technique is one way that we can bring ourselves back into a little more balance with that. Okay, so it balances the brain hemispheres. And now I will say, I don't know how much of this has been verified scientifically, but a lot of the techniques that we do study scientifically, they show to have benefits. So even if it's not exactly the specific benefits that are claimed by the yoga tradition, usually there is benefit to doing it. And science is such that with additional research and new methods of testing, we may one day discover that the yogis were right about everything. So science is always an open book. It's always open to new discoveries. So even if one day we say, you know what, this claim isn't true, 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 years from now, we might discover, oh, actually it is. We just weren't measuring in the right way. We didn't have the right tools. Okay, so overall, this technique, Nadi Shodhana, has a calming effect. It just sort of calms us down. Very good for, stressful times like these that we're in now. It helps to relieve anxiety, and it improves our concentration, our focus. And from a spiritual perspective, it helps to stimulate the third eye, okay, the Ajna chakra, which is associated with sort of our psychic or spiritual sense. Okay, so that's sort of the why would I want to do this. Other things that it can help with, especially in the more advanced stages, is with cardiovascular disorders, nervous system disorders, stress-related conditions, and respiratory problems. So asthma, emphysema, bronchitis are all said to be helped with this technique. Okay. All right. So preparation. Again, as I mentioned, finding a nice, comfortable meditation posture to do this in, very good idea. And then the other thing that's very important when we're doing this, at least physically, this can be done mentally as well, but I think we're here to try it physically today, is both nostrils need to be clear. Okay, so a few tips I can give you to help with that. One is hydrating. You're hydrated when your pee is clear. Sorry, that's just the way that it is. There isn't really another, just because you're not thirsty, it doesn't mean you're hydrated properly. Okay, so you want to drink enough water so that when you pee, it's clear. You want to keep drinking enough water. And that might mean you keep peeing throughout the day. So be it. It's really important. Stay hydrated. If you're wanting to avoid coronavirus, all these problems, hydration, very, very important for your body to do its work. I know people love coffee. Coffee is a diuretic. Caffeinated tea, same thing. You're going to pee and you're going to dehydrate yourself. So I'm not saying don't drink coffee. I am saying you need to drink more water than if you're going to be a coffee or a caffeinated tea drinker. Okay, so first tip for getting these cleared out, hydrate. Another thing you can use is steam. So if you're making some tea, maybe you breathe in some of that steam as you're preparing the tea. Another thing you can use from the yogic tradition is called a neti pot. And this is a usually ceramic, sometimes plastic pot. It's specifically made for this. And you use it for what's called nasal irrigation. So you stick one end in one nostril and it drains out the other one and it clears out these nasal cavities. Okay. Some other things to try are Kapalabhati, which is another breathing technique. We're not going to cover that today, but if you know it, that can be a good way to sort of clear out the sinuses. And then asana or postures. I found that sometimes in the morning when I wake up, I'm all stuffed up. And then if I do an hour sometimes less, but sometimes more, of postures, yin postures or flow postures. Very often that balances things enough so that my nostrils are open and I can do this technique. Okay? All right, so now let's go ahead and try it out. Let's begin just by finding a comfortable seat once again. Sitting tall, the spine is erect, ears, shoulders, hips stack. Go ahead and close your eyes. And let's just begin with breath awareness. Okay, so we're not trying to breathe in any particular way. We're just noticing our breath. Okay, so taking about 3 or 5 breaths just consciously. Okay. Now, we'll begin the pattern. So we're going to use this hand position. I have my pointer and middle finger extended, and then I have my ring finger and little finger bent, and then my thumb is out to the side. Now what I do is I take this and I just place it basically where the third eye would be, so right in the middle of the forehead there, and so that my fingers are over my nose. Okay, and then we use the fingers and the thumb to close the nostrils. Okay, so let's begin with an exhalation, and then closing the right nostril, we'll inhale through the left side. Then once we fill the lungs, we'll close the left side, open the right, and exhale through the right side. Then inhale through the right side. Fill the lungs again, close the right, switch, opening the left nostril, and exhale left side. Good, that's one round, and then you just continue with that. So that might be confusing at first, and that's okay. The first phase or the first step, I want you to get used to doing that. Now if you get lost or confused, the thing to remember is you always inhale through the last nostril that you exhaled through. So whichever one you're exhaling through, you just stay with that. Inhale again, switch sides, exhale the other side. Okay? So just get used to that. Do a few rounds of that, just getting used to that feeling. You don't have to press very hard. Okay, just enough to stop the flow. Now again, if one side is stuffed up, I mentioned some things earlier that you can do to try and unstuff the nostrils, but they need to be flowing freely. Another way to do this again is mentally, just visualizing the breath as a stream. But let's focus on the actual physical practice today. Okay, I'm going to now assume that you're more or less comfortable with that pattern. Now what I'd like you to focus on is making the breath as slow, soft, smooth, and silent as you possibly can. So I mean like no noise. A lot of people when they do this technique, when they first learn it, they sniff really hard. They do like they think that's somehow better. It's not. Okay, so we really want to slow the breath down. It's very subtle. It's very slow. Okay, it's soft, it's even, it's smooth. There's no unevenness or jaggedness. We flow seamlessly from the inhalation to the exhalation and then back the other way. See if you can get that to that point where that's happening for you. Good. Now I'm going to assume that you were able to do that. If not, it's fine. You just keep working with each step or phase until you master it. The next phase, I'd like you to start to count the inhale and the exhale. Okay, so with your next inhale, just start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever number you get to. Then begin exhaling out of the opposite nostril and again count. Now what you'd like is for the inhale and the exhale to be the same count. Now please be mindful of, say, counting really fast on the inhale and then really slowly on the exhale to get to the same number. Try and really let there be a rhythm to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. You get the picture. We don't want to rush just to get to the same number. It doesn't matter what number you get to. Whatever speed you count at is fine as long as you maintain that speed. Okay, so that is the next phase. We want the inhale and the exhale to be the same length. Now, one of the most important pieces of advice I can give you about this pranayama and any pranayama is it should not be a strain. I have studied with some teachers who teach pranayama like you're trying to run a marathon, like it's a great physical exertion. And then I've studied with other teachers who teach it in a very subtle way. In my experience, the great effort version doesn't really work. Okay, it's supposed to be relaxed. You are not supposed to be training. You're not making some kind of great effort. Okay, so no straining. This technique needs to be very subtle, relaxed, calming. So if you find yourself getting really agitated, then stop. Try another technique first. Now, I've covered in the previous weeks Dirga, right, the three-part yogic breathing. That is great to pair with this. So you're inhaling belly, ribs, upper chest, exhale, reversing that. Okay, and then you're doing this. So the breath is really deep and full, and you're doing the alternate nostril breathing. Many pranayamas can be paired in that way, and it can be very, very powerful to do that. So again, the first week we learned Dirga, then Ujjayi, so those two can be paired up, and then this can be paired with Dirga, okay, the three-part breathing. All right, so once you got the hang of it, you can do about 5 to 10 rounds to start. Now there are more advanced versions of this, and I may teach those to you in the coming weeks. We'll see. If there are any questions, please let me know. You can contact me here on Facebook, of course. You can contact me on my Patreon page or on my website. If you'd like to support me as a teacher, I am an out-of-work yoga teacher at the moment. The government's talking about giving us aid, but none of that aid is here yet. So if you got something from this, you want to help support me, help me do more of these, then here are some links for you to check out. Okay, and but don't feel obliged. The most important thing is that you practice so that you can really be present and available for those in your life and yourself during this rather stressful time. It can be stressful anyway. It doesn't have to be. I really want to emphasize that. This does not need to be something that we suffer through. It's definitely different than what we're used to. It's not my first choice. I definitely would prefer things be a little different than they are at the moment. No one asked me, so that's how reality is. It doesn't ask us. It just sort of is what it is. So I hope this was helpful. Again, I'll be coming back several times a week to teach you. Please tune in. Usually it's going to be around 8 o'clock. Some nights I'm not available because of my teaching schedule. I am still teaching for some studios online, but I will always try and make some content available on my Patreon page. That is completely free right now. Many people are donating to help support me and to do this work, but you don't have to. You can just go over there and take advantage of everything. I'll also mention that if this was helpful for you, please share it with people who you think might benefit from it. Okay, so if you know someone's stressed out, all the things we talked about at the beginning, all the benefits, you can share this with people who you think that it might help. It's like medicine. I will say this, that yoga techniques are more powerful the more often you practice them and the longer period of time that you practice them. So doing this one day, one time, the effects are probably going to be very, very mild. So don't expect to have your world shaken by doing this one time. Start working it into your meditation, work it into your exercise routine, make it a part of your daily practice. Then it will start to have those profound effects that I talked about. All right, everyone, namaste. Thank you for your attention, and I will hope to see you again very soon. Thanks.